And all of a sudden, everything that he had given me, one day I owed him for, you know.
How did that conversation happen?
You smoked all the drugs. I'm like, well, wow, you gave them all to me. Like, you've been giving them to me. Now all of a sudden, you're mad about it. You know, and I bought you that Gucci purse. You know, I mean, I don't know how we're gonna make it. You know, are you gonna help me or what? And so that's really how that conversation started. And so when I first got with him, I just thought he was a drug dealer, right? Until I started seeing other women come in. And so that's the insidious part about gang trafficking is so because they're gang members, it's not just about the women, right? So I scored all his drugs. I sold all his drugs. I took the penitentiary risk for his drugs. I've gone to prison for his drugs. And so, you know, it's not just that. I mean, there's stolen guns, there's stolen cars, there's, you know, laundering money, you know, all those different things that go in with that. And so they insulate themselves from all the risk and set up other individuals to take the fall. While all that time you're thinking, I'm doing this for him because I love him, you know.
And I'm helping us.
I'm helping us, right. Including recruiting other women, right?
You brought in other women
yes.
to also sleep with him?
No, to traffic.
To traffic. So you knew at that point that girl's going to be...
But I still didn't look at it as trafficking because our relationship was different, you know, than theirs. He loves me. That's not my pimp, that's my husband. He loves me. Yeah.
When it comes to like you or the other women, you know, were you ever bound, like you think enslavement, right? Like,
sure.
You know, and trapped in that sense, or were you free to go at any time?
So, you know, and I can tell you this, I mean, like I said, he's the most brutal man I've ever met. I mean, he's chained me to a stove. He's had gang members watch over me at my grandmother's funeral so that I wouldn't leave. You know, and there were definitely risks. He's poured boiling water on me, hit me with a truck. I mean, he's hunted me like a wild animal. I mean, so those fears are there, right? But more for me was the psychological bondage, right? So, and I'm not saying that those things don't happen, and they do. I mean, sometimes he's beat me beyond recognition, but more importantly, and this is why so many remain so hidden, are the psychological bondage and the coercions that's used to entrap these individuals.
So
you know.
How'd you get out?
You know, honestly, it was because someone else identified me. So many victims don't self-identify. And that's the hard part about all this, right? And so while we're looking around for individuals that are bound up, tied up, and beat up, we're not seeing the individuals that believe that that's their man or their husband, you know.
But I'm assuming if somebody came up to you and said you're being trafficked,
I would have had no idea what you said. You know, I would have defended him.
How did they say, like, how did they finally talk you into leaving?
Right, and so for me, I mean, individuals get out different ways, and there's a lot of individuals that are rescued. I can't stand the use of that word, but rescued.
Why don't you like that word?
Because a lot of individuals don't identify as that, and so it's really not about getting someone out. It's what are we going to do with them once we have them out, right? So what are we really doing with the victims and the survivors once they get out? I mean, when the rubber meets the road, what happens? And so many of them go back to a life of sexual exploitation. You know,
because there's not enough services available.
Exactly. Long-term services. And worse yet, we're dumping individuals and we're criminalizing individuals for their trauma, right? So, I mean, our state jail system has become a dumping ground for individuals like me, you know.
So how old were you, or how long ago was it when you were able to
get out?
Get help?
So I took a drug charge for him April 16th, 2011. It would have been my 9th felony. I got deferred adjudication, which is a miracle, and I got into a specialty court. But the point is that almost all those charges actually that I had, whether they were his dope or my dope or whatever, nearly all were incurred while I was under his oppression. Not all, but almost all of them. And the point is why didn't I get connection to those services before I had 9 felonies?
How long ago was it for your first felony or your first arrest
Sure.
while under his control?
Now that I don't know. Now my first arrest was in 2002, and I was not under his control. I don't know. I'd have to look. And I met him shortly after 2002.
So
I met
was he,
him
like,
when I
8 or
got.
9, or?
I think I met him. Honestly, I think I met him when I got out of prison the first time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was traumatizing for me because I was already traumatized, and I went through a safe P and behavior modification. It was just re-victimizing me. It just re-traumatized me, and I came out angry, and I went crazy.
What was that?
Safe P it's for state jail felonies for low-level drug offenses, and it was my first one, and I got a state jail felony instead of getting connected to services. I did get probation, which was not successful, but so often individuals that are on drugs, they don't successfully complete probation because the programming is not there, right?
What's missing?
One, I think the demands are way too high. The length is too long. It's too rigorous for someone that's been traumatized and has substance abuse issues. It's just not a good fit. So I feel like a lot of the programming needs to be individualized instead of this cookie cutter type. Gender specific.
Did they give trauma-based care?
Oh no, not until I got into the specialty court.
Until your 9th felony.
Right. Mm-hmm.
What was the specialty court? Like, what do you? I'm not familiar with this.
Yeah, so it's actually, I give great credit to them, and I do a lot of work with them. It's Star Drug Court is through Harris County Drug Court Foundation.
Okay.
They do amazing work. They've got amazing specialty courts out of Harris County, but the point is that these individuals should be getting these services before they have a criminal record.
Right.
And so I do groups in a child detention center, and these kids are 13, 14, and they're looking at me for hope, and I already know that all the odds are set against them, right? Most of those individuals are CPS involved or system involved already and have been their whole life, and yet we're setting them up for the adult system, right? And they've been trafficked. So now you're creating a barrier to any type of sustainable life, for these kids.
So what's on your record right now?
So almost every single one of my charges is a low-level, non-violent drug offense.
Drug charges?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because you were selling for your trafficker?
Or I had possession.
For your trafficker?
Mm-hmm. And some of those I've gone to state jail on a trace. I didn't even have drugs. Right? I didn't even have drugs. Nothing usable, nothing. Like, it's just a crumb in my pocket, and here I go, felony number 5. And then you go to state jail. You don't get connected to services. You don't get any help. You don't get any treatment when you get out. You get nothing, right?
Right.
We have individuals that are in the same position that I am, and we already know that substance abuse issues, we know that mental health issues are all fueled by trauma, and that's the highest arrest rate and the highest thing that's fueling state jail systems. And yet you're not connecting these individuals to the services they need to get better.
Have you tried having these records that are connected to your trafficker put as non-disclosure?
Well, the issue with that is, one, it takes money, right? But 2, when you have so many, so yeah, I could get 3 taken off, but who cares? I've got 5 more, right? What's the point for me? That's why vacates are so more important, right?
So, to you, what is it like knowing that there are more than half of the country, like 38, 39 states have these vacator laws, but Texas doesn't?
Right, and it's unfortunate because I feel like Texas has really been leading a lot in this anti-trafficking movement. And we always, I feel legislatively, often have groundbreaking model practices that other states look towards us for leadership. And I just think it's unfortunate that we're behind on this, right? So we're actually criminalizing victims, right? We already have law enforcement, we already have agencies recognize that individuals are victims, and yet we're putting them in our state jail systems, right? So it doesn't make any sense for me.
Why do you think that is? This isn't the first time a vacator law has come up.
Right.
in the Texas legislature.
Right, and I don't know if it's something that deals with male patriarchy. You know, it might be something of that nature. I mean, I can't understand why we would continue to, and I understand there's, you know, if you break the law, you know, it's the law, but I mean, we're talking about victims here of trauma and sex trafficking.
What would that do for you if that was available?
Right. So for me, I mean, I've been out of life. I've yet to commit a crime. I've yet to go into a mental hospital. I've been to 3. I've yet to mutilate myself or use any type of substance abuse or substances since I got in connection with individualized specialized services. The one time out of all those experiences, the one time I was connected to that, I've never turned back. So obviously arresting individuals is not, you know, the way out, right? So I mean, I have judgments that span over 52 pages. They can attest to that. So for me, what was the question?
What would like a big
Yeah, right. What would it do for me? So for me, I know that when I got out and tried to start my life over, nobody would rent to me unless it was in the hood. Right, so now I'm living amongst individuals that are selling drugs, that are gangbanging, the exact thing that I'm trying to fight tooth and nail to get out of. 2, I've actually had car insurance turn me down or raise my rates because of my criminal record. I've been told that your credit APR rates can go up because you're viewed as higher risk, right? I've actually gone back to college. I was looking at a vocational course. And so I had a 4.0, and they told me you can't, you know, go for this type of career path because you can't get a license. So what a waste, right? You're wasting your money. I mean,
what were you gonna go for?
I wanted to do sonography, which is like CAT scans, MRIs. You know, not directly working, you know, with individuals such as a doctor or whatnot, but you know, something that was a sustainable type of income that wasn't working at McDonald's, you know, something that of substance. You know, even when I moved here, you know, to take a job, I applied at 30 different places trying to get a place to live. And I thought, oh, Austin's a progressive city. They're like, we'll take your dog, but we can't take you because of your felonies. You know, there's like 7 apartments complexes that rent to felons, you know, in Austin. So it's just by grace that I got this place through a friend, you know, unless I live in the hood, right? So employment too, you know, what do? You go in, I've got 8 felonies. The chances of you hiring me are probably really, really slim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. What would be your message to our viewers watching this? Learning not only about human trafficking,
Sure.
but also these laws that could help the survivors and the people who
Right.
have these criminal records.
Right. Well, one, that these individuals are victims, right? And a vast majority of them have been victimized their whole lives. We have to stop victimizing these individuals, including the very systems that are in place that's supposed to be helping and protect them. And so I would say support this bill.
Do you think vacator laws would solve it?
I think it would help.
It would help.
You know, because I mean, how can you expect someone to recover if you limit them from any type of economic agency?